Prediction for the 2025 Australian election. Let's get right into it. So overall in two-party preferred, I think there'll be almost no swing in New South Wales, but overall we see the minor parties really picking up steam. What flips do we see? Well, I'm only predicting one flip at the moment, and that is Bennelong, and that's a notional hold. For those of you who don't know, our hold on that should be in red because it is currently a Labour seat. There we go. Okay, so Bennelong, which I might have spelt wrong here, is currently a Labour seat, but due to the redistribution, if the same voting patterns were repeated this election as was last election, it would be a Liberal seat. So I'm saying notional hold, but it is a flip, so that would be a Labour seat becoming a Liberal seat. So what are the key battlegrounds? Well, Labour needs to defend Richmond. They've got quite a big margin against the Nationals. However, I think they're only going to be about 1.5% in front of the Greens. That'll be interesting to see how minor party preferences flow to say maybe the Nationals do burst through. Maybe that's at the expense of Labour, who knows. But I think Richmond will be very close. Labour also defending seats like Gilmore and Robertson, which are what Dutton has really campaigned in. The Liberals are trying to hold on to Banks, which is very marginal, and Hughes. Then there's the seats of Cowper and Bradfield. People have been saying, oh, the independents in front. I actually have the independent candidates a little bit behind, but I think it's very close. And I have both the others, both the independents in New South Wales, which are in competitive races that do hold seats. Holding their seats, I think Fowler will be very close. The other two independents in New South Wales, I think, are just far enough ahead. I haven't put them in battlegrounds. Then we go to Victoria, and we have finally seen that the Labour Party has made a recovery, but they're holding seats like Chisholm and McEwen by under 1%. So that'll be interesting to watch. Menzies is a notional flip. It is a Liberal seat. Redistribution made it Labour, but I think this time around, just the swing will make sure it stays Liberal. Monash, I've put a question mark, because we don't really have a history of Liberal versus Independent campaign here, so that'll be interesting to see on election night. Aston is a flip, but it's a flip from the by-election, because there was a by-election, I think, in 2023, where Labour did flip it from the Liberals, but I just applied for swing statewide to what happened in 2022 general election, because I think that'll be a bit more reliable. I do have the Greens winning Macnamara. I think they will kick out the Labour candidate. I think they'll finish 1.2% in front of the Labour candidate, and then they're quite likely to win against the Liberal. Speaking of the Greens, the seat of Wills is very close, at under 3%, so that'll be interesting to watch on election night. Kooyong, for all the drama and everything, that's been one of the tensest seats this election. I think the independent Monique Ryan just holds on by a bare margin. Of course, I've got that well within the margin of error, so you never know. Goldstein will also be close, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Then let's get to Queensland, and in Queensland, we are seeing overall not much of a two-party preferred swing. We're seeing generally minor parties gaining support, so we'll see what that looks like. The Liberals have got 5 seats that could all very easily fall to Labour, or not very easily fall to Labour. We know that Dixon is a big target. There's also a Teal running there, and some of their preferences could go to Labour. Leichhardt, we know the popular Liberal incumbent is retiring, so maybe I'll be a bit more of a swing. There's been talk of Bonner flipping. Honestly, in my prediction, I think one of these might flip, but honestly, my numbers have none of them flipping, which I can also see happening. The Greens, I don't have Griffith on here because there's talk of like Liberal Labour preferences, who comes second. Greens are going to win first preference. That would be pretty difficult for me to calculate. I'll just say quickly on Griffith, if it's Liberal versus Greens, Greens win by a lot, and if it's Labour versus Greens, I've actually seen some polls having Greens winning that even, so that'll be interesting to see. I do think that the One Nation preferences will flow to Liberals, and it will be Greens versus Liberals. But back to what we see here, Ryan is Greens versus Liberals. I think it moves a bit more to the Greens. They increase their margin by a bit from the last election. Brisbane, I think the Greens pull a little bit in front of Labor. I know there's been speculation there of Labor having strong campaign, which they do, but I feel like the statewide figures are strong enough for the Greens that they might actually expand that margin in front of Labor, and from there they are very likely to beat the Liberal candidate. So let's get down to WA. Down west to WA, and this is actually the closest two-party preferred I've had since November last year, so that'll be interesting to watch. Overall, a little bit of a swing to the Liberals. Other than that, just minor parties picking up everything. So the new seat of Bullwinkle, I think, will be Labor. It is notionally Labor at the moment. Tangney, I think, sticks with Labor by a bit. Moore and Canning will be interesting. I know in Moore there's an independent, so maybe some of our preferences will go more to Labor. I currently have the Liberals ahead in those, but it will be close. And I have Curtin will probably be an independent victory, but it'll be reasonably close. Let's go to South Australia, and due to their popular incumbent Labor government, I think that Sturt could be a flip, but then again, I have it on 0.1%. I might be wrong about this, so, just remember that, but I heard that apparently Sturt has always been represented by some sort of Conservative, whether it's been the Liberal Party or, it's what it used to be called. That might be wrong, though. Maybe my memory's just playing tricks on me. Boothby, which Labor flipped at last election, yeah, I think it moves a bit more towards Labor. Dutton hasn't really appealed much to the sort of progressive suburbs. Tasmania, this will be interesting. I have Lyons as extremely marginal. It's pretty much always extremely marginal, and Bass is also pretty marginal. We know that it was one of the most marginal seats in the country in 2022, but then the popular MP managed to, actually swing it more towards the Liberals. I think it will be marginal this time around. Maybe that personal appeal just isn't as strong this time. Who knows? I do want to say one thing about Franklin, where there's, Labor and Liberal dropping a few percentages. Greens were running a strong campaign, and there's an anti-salmon independent running a strong campaign. The Greens candidate had to withdraw due to, I think he had a New Zealand citizenship or something. But either way, that probably means that the independent, anti-salmon candidate will come third, and apparently, even if people do vote for the candidate who's withdrawn in that contest, it'll just work as that preferences, so it'll just be that candidate gets excluded from the count first, and the preferences flow on. So it'll be interesting to see in Franklin if the independent can get in a two-party preferred. Whether that's against Labor or Liberal, well, it'll be interesting to see. So yeah, there could be a shock independent. Apparently there's another one in Braddon, just not as strong a campaign, but that's also possible. I don't have any flips in Tasmania. ACT, I haven't really done any tracking for it because all three of those seats are always going to be Labor in front. There's talks in Canberra that maybe the Green candidate can win, as in the seat of Canberra, which is in the east of the ACT. And that is possible, but I certainly don't have the Greens as a front runner in that seat. Then we have Northern Territory, which we have some figures on from, back in April. What are my predictions? I think that Labor is going to regain a lot of our lead. Turnout will be interesting to see here, because we know that in electorates like Solomon, where Labor won quite handily last time, turnout was 2/3 of the population. Now, with a lot of remote enrollment that happened during the voice referendum a couple of years back, maybe turnout overall will be bigger in the more rural areas. Maybe we'll see that nationwide. Maybe that'll mean there's a stronger Nationals vote, who knows. But yeah, I think Labor does keep that margin, but I think these seats are very unpredictable. I don't even have Solomon as a battleground, but it could still go to the coalition, who knows. Because there hasn't been any polling in Northern Territory for nearly a year now. I'm actually going off the state election results, and then I had to take the average of an MRP to try guess what is happening here. So these could be very unreliable. I do think that Labour does hold both of its seats. It will be interesting to watch. I do have Lingiari as one of the closest seats in the country, so that'll be interesting. So overall, my projection is a Labour majority government, but not by much, on 78. I think that's virtually what they have now. I think the Liberals will be on 56, so that's a net loss of 1, and the Greens on 5, so that's a net gain of 1, and Independents and others, I think, go back by 1, because for redistribution, I think they abolished North Sydney. So overall, this has been part of a trend we've seen since February of Labour ticking up. First preference vote actually getting close. There's a potential that Labour wins first preference vote nationwide, and two-party preferred. It's narrowed a bit in the pre-polling time, but you never know. So overall, yeah, nationwide, going off these numbers, well, we saw it in the graph, so I don't need to explain it again. These are just how I'm going to track on election night. So I'll plug in the first preference votes, second preference votes to see a swing. I'll plug in the seats as they come in. I won't be doing any sort of live thing for the election. I'll probably make a video sometime in the next 24 hours. It'll be interesting to see, because while I am saying Labour is on track for a majority, I don't think we'll know whether that's a majority or not for a couple of days, so it'll be interesting to watch. And I'll be tracking, first preference. I'll be tracking first preference swings. I'll be tracking two-party votes. Of course, House of Representative seats. I'll be tracking, general swings across the states, which will be interesting to see. I will be tracking Senate results. I know I haven't really done forecasting on it because, there's so much flying around. Maybe in the future I will. But yeah, that is my final prediction. I think Labour wins by... They win on the same sort of seats that they won last time. I think the Greens gain 1, Coalition loses 1, and others and Independents lose 1. As for the Senate, I really don't know. I think it'll stay like it is. Labour plus Greens is nearly enough for 50%, but I'll have to work with some Independents. Alright, thanks for joining, and go out and vote.